Look closely at your life. How many choices have been made not by your true self, but by the version of you built to fit in? How many words were spoken just to be accepted? How many dreams were abandoned because they didn't match the mask? This is why you feel the weight you cannot name. The body knows when it is pretending, the soul knows when it is trapped. And the field mirrors that false signal, collapsing realities that never belonged to you. To step into your truth, the mask must burn. Every human being wears a mask. It starts innocently, almost as play. A child learns to smile even when they don't want to because it earns approval. They learn to stay quiet because silence keeps them safe. They adjust, they adapt, they survive. The mask at first feels like a tool, something you put on and take off, but over time, the lines blur. You forget where the mask ends and where your face begins. This is how you end up living a life that doesn't feel like yours. Decisions are made, but not from your center. They come from the mask. Words are spoken, but not from truth. They come from the mask. Even dreams, the things you chase for years, may not belong to you. They are borrowed from others, shaped by expectation, reinforced by fear. Neuroscience confirms this. The brain adapts quickly to roles it repeats. When you behave a certain way long enough, neurons fire together and wire together until the mask is not just performance, it becomes your autopilot. Spirit has always described this in another way: karma, samsara, maya, cycles of illusion where you forget who you really are. Ask yourself, how many times have you silenced your own truth just to be accepted? How many times have you felt a thought, a desire, a dream rising inside, only to bury it because it didn't fit the mask you were wearing? And how many times did you wonder why your life feels heavy, why something is missing, even when everything looks fine on the outside? This is the weight of pretending. The soul knows when it is trapped. The body knows when it is lying. You feel it as tension in your chest, as fatigue that sleep doesn't heal, as restlessness that no achievement satisfies. Because pretending drains energy. Wearing a mask 24 hours a day consumes more life than any honest struggle ever could. Quantum physics gives us another perspective. The field responds to the frequency you broadcast. But if the signal is coming from a mask, from fear, from performance, from survival, the field mirrors back realities that belong to the mask, not to you. This is why even when you succeed, something feels empty. Because the universe cannot reward authenticity it doesn't see. It can only collapse what you actually embody, and here lies the deepest tragedy. People mistake the mask for identity. They live decades under a role and believe it is who they are. They collapse timelines that belong to the mask, and they call it destiny. They repeat cycles written by fear, and they call it life. Spirit has always warned about this. Mystics said, "You must die before you die." What did they mean? That the false self, the mask, must burn before the true self can live. Shamans created rituals of fire and initiation not to harm, but to dissolve masks. Even modern psychology confirms it. Until you face the persona, the mask, the unconscious role, you cannot touch the authentic self. So here is the question that matters. If you know the mask is false, why is it so hard to take it off? Why do you keep holding on to something that suffocates you? Why do you protect the very disguise that keeps you from your own freedom? And this is what brings us to the hidden error most people make. It is not that they don't see the mask. Many know it's there. The error is that they confuse removing the mask once with being free forever. They treat revelation as transformation. But without burning the mask fully, without enduring the fire long enough, it always returns. If so many people know they are wearing a mask, why do they keep it on? Why do they defend it, even when it suffocates them? Because they fall into the same error. They confuse the mask with their identity. At first, The mask is just performance. You smile when you don't want to. You agree when you want to say no. You hide your feelings to avoid conflict. But over time, the mask becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. And identity becomes reality. The role you play every day slowly convinces you that it is who you are. This is why the mask feels so hard to remove, because you believe you are tearing away skin when in truth you are only burning paper. The false self clings not because it is strong, but because you confuse it with your face. Quantum physics helps explain this. The field collapses whatever signal is most consistent. If your mask is broadcast daily through thoughts, emotions, and actions, then that becomes the reality the field mirrors back. Not because it is your truth, but because it is your most repeated broadcast. The universe isn't punishing you, it is obeying you. And so the loop continues. You see the mask. You hate the mask. But you keep collapsing it into form because you don't know how to live without it. Spirit warned of this thousands of years ago. Mystics said, the false self dies many times before the true self can live once. Shamans spoke of initiates who saw the mask but refused to burn it, and so they remained in cycles of illusion. Psychology names it cognitive dissonance. You know one thing, but you keep acting another. Here is the error in simple words. People believe awareness is enough. They think seeing the mask means they are free from it. But awareness without fire changes nothing. You can recognize the mask for years and still wake up tomorrow broadcasting the same false identity. Ask yourself honestly, how many times have you caught yourself pretending, promised to stop, and yet kept playing the role because it was safer? Then silence easier than truth? This is the trap. The mask doesn't stay because it is powerful. It stays because you keep choosing it every day, mistaking performance for survival and survival for identity. You know the mask is false. You know it isn't who you are. And yet, for years, maybe decades, you've kept wearing it. Why? Because the mask feels safer than the fire. The mask is predictable. The fire is unknown. But here is the truth you can no longer avoid. The mask will never dissolve by itself. It must be burned. Burning the mask doesn't mean destroying yourself. It means destroying what you are not. It means allowing the illusions, the borrowed stories, the false expectations to collapse so that your true signal can finally be seen by the field. The universe cannot mirror authenticity if you never broadcast it. So how do you burn the mask? How do you step out of decades of performance and into the reality of who you really are? Step 1. Disrupt the performance. The mask survives because you repeat it. Every day you play the same role. The body remembers how to act. The brain remembers which lines to speak. And the field obeys. The first step is to disrupt the performance. Interrupt the cycle. Do something your mask would never do. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Start with a small refusal. Say no when you'd normally say yes. Stay silent where you'd normally force a smile. Breathe before reacting. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to fire new connections when old patterns are interrupted. Spirit calls it initiation, the choice to step off the stage even for a moment and feel what it means to exist without the costume. Ask yourself, what is one thing you do every day that you know belongs to the mask, not to you? That is where you must start. Step 2. Reprogram the emotional body, but disruption alone is not enough. The mask doesn't live only in your mind. It lives in your body. It is woven into your nervous system, into the chemistry you feel every day. Think about it. How does it feel when you pretend? Tension in the chest, pressure in the throat, a heaviness that drains your energy. These sensations are not random. They are the body's response to inauthenticity. Over years, your body becomes addicted to these feelings. They become the baseline. To burn the mask, you must reprogram the emotional body. Breath is the bridge. Coherent breathing, meditation, stillness These are not cliches. They are ways of teaching your body a new state. The HeartMath Institute has shown that coherent breath aligns the heart and brain, creating measurable electromagnetic fields that extend beyond the body. In other words, breathing differently, literally, changes the signal you broadcast. And when the broadcast changes, the field must mirror it. Spirit has always known this. Shamans taught breath as a way to move between worlds. Yogis called it prana, life force. Mystics called it spirit. Whatever the name, the truth is the same. Breath burns illusion. So when you feel the mask tightening, don't run. Don't numb it. Breathe into it. Let the fire of breath dissolve the tension. With each inhale, you reclaim your true self. With each exhale, you release the false. Step 3. Choose identity. Now, even with disruption and emotional reprogramming, the mask waits. It whispers, "This is who you are. You cannot live without me." And most believe it, but identity is not inherited. It is chosen. Quantum mechanics calls it the observer effect. Reality collapses according to the state of the observer. If you keep observing yourself as the mask, the field collapses the mask again. But if you observe yourself differently, if you embody the truth of who you are, then the collapse changes instantly. Spirit calls this living as if. You don't wait for permission. You don't wait for proof. You embody authenticity now. Speak the words your true self would speak. Walk as if the mask is already ash. Breathe as if your lungs have never known the weight of pretending. Ask yourself, who would you be without the mask? What words would you say? What choices would you make? That is the identity you must embody now, not tomorrow. Now. Step 4. Anchor with ritual, but identity too can fade if you don't anchor it. The subconscious does not shift with ideas. It shifts with symbols. This is why every culture, every tradition, every spiritual lineage uses ritual. Fire, chants, mantras, ceremonies, all designed to speak to the subconscious in its native language. To burn the mask, you need ritual. Create one that seals the shift. Write down the lies you've carried, the ones that built the mask, and burn them. Look in the mirror each morning and declare, not as a wish, but as truth. This is me. This is who I am. Anchor your new identity with a gesture, a word, a symbol that reminds you every day that the mask is gone. Without ritual, the mask creeps back. With ritual, the fire holds. Step 5. Sustain the fire. Here is the final truth. Collapse is not a single event. It is continuous. Every second, the wave collapses into form, which means the mask is not burned once. It must be burned again and again until nothing of it remains. Neuroscience calls this reinforcement. The more often you choose authenticity, the easier it becomes. Spirit calls it purification, the fire that burns until only truth is left. Both mean the same. The more you sustain the fire, the less power the mask has. Most fail here. They expect one ritual, one breakthrough, to erase decades of pretending. But reality doesn't collapse once. It collapses every moment. And if you don't sustain the fire, the mask rebuilds. The methods summarized disrupt the performance. Reprogram the emotional body. Choose identity now. Anchor with ritual. Sustain the fire. That is how you burn the mask. That is how you reveal who you really are. It doesn't take a lifetime. It doesn't take endless effort. It takes one choice, repeated, sustained, embodied, until the old signal dies and the field has no choice but to collapse authenticity. The universe doesn't reward performance. It rewards coherence. And coherence only comes when the mask is gone. If the mask is not real, why do you keep wearing it? Why protect something that suffocates you? The answer is fear. Fear of what happens when it burns. Fear of who you will be without it. Fear that without the mask, you won't be loved, accepted, or safe. But here's the truth. Keeping the mask is far more dangerous than burning it. Because every second you wear it, you collapse realities that don't belong to you. Every time you pretend, the field mirrors the pretense. Every hesitation. To be authentic is not neutral. It's a choice. It's a broadcast. It's a collapse into another cycle of the false self. Think about how many opportunities you've lost because the mask spoke instead of you. How many times you stayed silent when truth wanted to rise. How many times you accepted less than you deserved because the mask told you it was safer. Those moments didn't disappear. They collapsed into timelines you will never live. Futures erased because you chose illusion over fire. Quantum physics gives us no escape here. Observation collapses probability into reality instantly. That means the mask isn't just something you wear, it's something you broadcast, and the field has no choice but to mirror it. That's why the weight feels unbearable, because the universe is not supporting your truth. It's supporting your disguise. So ask yourself now, how much longer are you willing to live inside a script that was never yours? How many more years will you keep collapsing someone else's story? How much of your soul are you willing to bury just to maintain a disguise? This is the fire you can't avoid. The mask will burn, either by your choice or by life forcing it off. The only difference is whether you step into the fire willingly or wait until everything collapses around you. Spirit has always warned of this. Mystics spoke of initiation through destruction. Shamans said the false self dies screaming before the true self is born. The pain is real, but so is the liberation. Because once the mask burns, the weight vanishes. The exhaustion of pretending dissolves, and what remains is coherence. A signal so pure the field cannot ignore it. Right now, as you hear these words, the mask is trembling. You may not realize it fully, but something inside you knows. The false self cannot survive exposure. The moment you recognized it, the moment you dared to question if the mask was ever really you, the fire began. Notice what is happening in your body. Your breath has changed since the beginning. Your chest feels heavier or lighter, but not the same. A subtle energy is moving, a pressure under the skin, a pull you cannot ignore. This is not imagination. It is the nervous system recalibrating, the signal of the mask weakening. The illusion is losing power. Quantum physics gives us the language for this. The observer effect tells us what you focus on collapses into reality. The second you stopped seeing the mask as your identity and started observing it as false, you began collapsing something new. The mask cannot stand the gaze of awareness. Spirit has always said the same. Illusions dissolve in the presence of truth. That is why resistance feels so strong right now. The mind might whisper, "This is just words. Nothing is happening. You'll be the same tomorrow." But resistance is not failure. Resistance is proof. The false self always screams loudest when it knows it is about to die. Can you feel it? That inner conflict between the part of you that wants to cling to the mask and the part of you that wants to let it burn? That conflict is not weakness. It is the fire in action. The illusion fighting for survival while the truth demands to live. This is the climax. The mask is not theoretical anymore. It is burning now. Every breath you take in authenticity fans the flames. Every thought you refuse to fake weakens its hold. Every second you remain present accelerates the collapse. And once the burning begins, there is no going back. You cannot unknow the truth. You cannot unsee the disguise. You cannot rebuild a mask once it has turned to ash. You can try, but it will never fit the same. The universe has already shown you too much. The field has already responded to your shift. So the real question now is not, will the mask burn? It already is. The question is, will you allow the fire to finish, or will you run back into the smoke and pretend nothing happened? This is the moment you've avoided and longed for at the same time. The death of the false. The revelation of the true. It is uncomfortable, terrifying even. But it is also freedom. The weight you have carried for years is being lifted. The exhaustion of pretending is dissolving. What remains is you, raw, coherent, undeniable. Feel the silence under your thoughts. That silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It is the space where the true self stands. That silence is the new signal ready to be broadcast, waiting for you to embody it fully. The mask is burning, and beneath the ash, who you really are is waiting. The mask has already started to tremble. You can feel it. The tightness in your chest, the pull in your thoughts, the silence pressing from beneath the noise. That is the proof. The fire is not waiting. It is burning right now. But here's the danger. If you walk away from this moment without action, the mask will try to rebuild. It always does. It waits for your silence. It waits for your hesitation. And the longer you wait, the stronger it becomes again. That is why this moment matters. Because now you have seen what is false. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So, how do you make sure the mask doesn't return? You seal the fire. You anchor it into reality. First, declare it. In the comments, write one word: unmasked. That single word is not for me. It is not for the algorithm. It is for you, for the field, for the universe itself. That word is a broadcast, a signal that says, the mask is burned. I choose truth. I choose authenticity. Second, subscribe. But don't see it as just clicking a button. See it as alignment. When you subscribe, you connect yourself to the current that already brought. You hear? Every video on this channel is another spark, another reminder, another signal that keeps the fire alive. If you disconnect, the noise of the world will try to drown this truth again. But if you stay aligned, the fire grows louder, stronger, unshakable. Think of how many times you felt something powerful, only to let it fade because you didn't act. How many times you recognized the mask, only to put it back on because it was easier. This moment is different. This time, act, declare, align. Seal the shift before the illusion convinces you nothing happened. Pause for a second now. Feel the fire. Feel the release. Feel the presence of who you truly are, standing beneath the ash. That is not imagination. That is evidence. The mask has already cracked, and your true self is waiting to step forward. And remember, this is not the end. This is initiation. You burned the mask today. The next step is learning how to live without it, how to hold your true identity in every breath, in every choice, until the universe has no choice but to mirror back only authenticity. That is what comes next. And the next video is already waiting to guide you deeper into this journey. The mask is gone. The fire is alive. The true self has returned. Seal it now.